Welcome to Keep Your Thrive Alive. I'm Mark Mulligan, and this is the space where I share inspiration, tips and ideas to boost your mood, your energy and your well-being. Today I'm delighted to have Lee Mears with me. Lee is a retired international rugby player with 2 World Cups, 43 international rugby caps for England and a British and Irish Lions tour under his belt. Since retiring from rugby, he's been coaching business leaders to realise their ambitions. Today we're going to explore ambition and why it's so important for our well-being. So Lee, you've obviously been really successful and ambition is obviously very important to you. But oftentimes when we think about ambition and success, it can be the very thing that derails people when it comes to their well-being. From your perspective, why is ambition really important for our well-being?
I think for our well-being, we're looking for positivity and feeling good. And as human beings, we're actually wired for negativity and danger. If you look at the evolution, we were at the bottom of the food chain, animals trying to eat us. So we're always looking for negative danger, risk. And over time, we've evolved, but our brains haven't. And so in the modern world, if you let your brain run you, it will look for danger, it will look for risk. And therefore, by being ambitious, by having a North Star looking forward, your brain can actually help you.
So having a North Star or clarity can really help us manage our stress. Can you tell us a bit more about the neuroscience behind that, please?
Yes, I mean, there's 2 amazing books, Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow by Daniel Kahneman and The Chimp Paradox by Steve Peters. But both of them have the concept that our brain can be our biggest helper, but it can also be our biggest enemy. And the brain's so amazing. You can take in 40 million bits of information at any one time, but the brain has to compute what's relevant. And by having a North Star, by knowing roughly what you want, your brain will pick up the bits that are relevant to you. If you don't have that North Star, you'll just operate on what they call unconscious incompetence.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because whatever it is that we're thinking about, it does prime our mind to be able to see those things. Like I remember a friend of mine was telling me that when his wife became pregnant, for the first time ever, he became aware of baby changing facilities. And he said it was like they very conveniently installed them in every petrol station in the country, but they were never there beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone at home, it's if a car, you bought a brand new car, you start seeing people with the same car as you or trainers. It's fantastic, the brain.
And how else can being ambitious help you?
I think sometimes we hold stuff in and we think it through. Sometimes people can hold you responsible, but the minute you talk about it, others will hold you to account.
And how can this help with your relationships too?
I think by bringing other people in and letting them know what you're trying to achieve can really deepen connections. There's a wonderful help model that if I pose the question now about can you go out and ask people for help, we don't like it. We're wired to not want to ask for help, to be brave. But actually, when somebody asks you for help, you over-deliver. It's a real change in the nuance. And I think that can deepen connections because every time you help somebody, you feel really good.
Nice. So by asking for help, we feel vulnerable and weak, but actually when you ask somebody else for help, you're helping them to feel better about themselves. Yeah. So a way of reframing it for yourself, when you reach out and ask for help, you're assisting them to feel better about themselves.
Yeah, you're empowering them.
Nice. One of the things I love about talking to you about ambition is that you look at it very holistically, Lee, but it wasn't always like that for you, was it?
No, definitely not. As an athlete early on, I was so singular focused. I mean, there were probably 3 or 4 things that you focused on for your performance. And you became quite selfish in that sort of arena. And it wasn't until you start to be successful and you start winning things that you realise actually having that singular focus, winning that shiny medal, it doesn't help you because it's such a big come down from the other side. And so very quickly I realised that there was so much more to life than just chasing 2 or 3 things.
Yeah. And you've got an amazing story about how in your pursuit for success in your career, it very nearly jeopardised your well-being and your health.
Yes, yeah. I was diagnosed in 2013 with a heart issue and it's hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which basically means I've got an under-revving heart. It could have led to a heart attack on the field. Wow. If I pushed too hard. So although I did say I didn't do that much running. But I think for me there, it was overnight, your career's done. So I then had to really look at what's next.
So when you retired like so quickly like that, it must have been a huge shock. How did it feel?
Yeah, it was a massive shock. I mean, everything you've known from being a school kid. I always said professional sport was like being at school. You were told where to be, at what time, what to eat. Everything was laid out for you. And then overnight, gone. No more Saturdays. The thing with sport is that all of your colleagues are actually your friends as well. So it was a really big shock. But I actually think the darkest time probably came the 6 months after. When you think retirement, you think, oh, I'll relax, play golf with all the 70-year-olds at the golf club. And I realised that I had no purpose. And this is where I think that ambition is great, because you need a focus, you need something to look forward to. I was languishing and I was probably spiralling downwards.
So Lee, what was it that helped you develop a more holistic approach towards ambition?
There was a fantastic tool called the Wheel of Life. Because I'd gone from a purpose of a rugby player, I had to refine my new purpose. What was it? And for me, it was about being a good dad, being a good partner, all of those kind of things. So the Wheel of Life is a wheel with 8 spokes. On mine, there was career, money, well-being, family, relationships, growth, fun, and mood. And those elements I scored out of 10. And depending on how I was doing, some were at 8, 9, some were at 1 and 2. And there's no right or wrong, but you're just starting to look at, is there balance? Where are the gaps? What do you need to dial up? A bit like a graphic equalizer. What do you need to dial up? What do you need to dial down? Because you could, for everybody out there, could be at 10 in your career, but you can guarantee you're probably at 1 or 2 in either relationships or well-being.
Brilliant. So the Wheel of Life has 8 different spokes. I guess it might be overwhelming for somebody to look at all 8 areas.
I think initially, to set yourself up for success, identify the 1 or 2 key areas that can make a massive difference to your life. Where can you make those small micro steps? If it's, for instance, your 10 out of 10 career, but 1 out of 10 wellness, what can you do? Drink more water, go for a walk. We're not saying run a marathon. So, and as we spoke about earlier, those small gains create momentum, and you'll soon be flying.
Absolutely. And I guess it's not just a one and done. It's not that you do this exercise once, that you can come back to it and sort of see how your wheel has changed over time.
Oh yeah, it's a living, breathing thing. You can continually analyze it and keep doing it.
Yeah, because one of my favorite phrases is, what gets measured gets managed. So it's only if we're sort of coming back and looking at it that we'll continue to do the things we need to do to get that more balanced life.
Yeah, that's fantastic. As we've spoken about earlier, the brain wants to look for the negative bits. Some of that will be brilliant.
Lee, thank you so much for sharing so much of your own personal story, but also for giving us such a useful technique to help people to be holistically successful across all of the areas of their lives.
Absolute pleasure.
So we've created a special Thriving Wheel of Life for you to take stock of how you're doing right now. You can create your own version using the link at the bottom of this page. So now I'd love to hear from you. What did you find most useful about this video? Which area do you want to improve in, and what is it that you're actually going to do? I look forward to seeing you next month, and in the meantime, be well and thrive.